DJ A-Rock coming from Ohio. Of course, we are in a virtual world right now, but I want to thank DJ NTV for inviting me to be a part of their series they're doing right now. And I'm here to talk to you about being a cruise ship DJ. Let's get going. So, once again, I'm DJ A-Rock here in Athens, Ohio. If you look it up on the map, we are an hour and a half south of Columbus, Ohio. Very small town. If you do a Google search on my area, first thing going to come up is the university, Halloween, and probably more about Halloween, which is the third largest block party in the country, especially when it comes to what? Halloween. But besides that, we have a wonderful college, football, basketball, all the sports, and much more. Now, what I'm here to talk about is not just where I live at, but how I went to where I live at to being a DJ on the high seas, working on some of the largest vessels in the world. So I take you back to DJ Expo, August 2014, and I'm walking through the expo and I see Carnival Cruise Line with a table set up. First I'm thinking is, why is Carnival Cruise Line at the DJ Expo? Are they giving away free cruises? What are they doing here? So I went up to the table, approached the wonderful staff there at the time. I said, hey, what are you guys doing? And the guy said, hey, we're looking for DJs. That's why we're at the DJ Expo. Duh, right? So anyway, they invited me up to a room to do a live interview right there on the spot. At the DJ Expo, they said, hey, meet us in this room here in 15 minutes. We're doing open interviews. Bring whatever you got. We got all equipment there. We got a pair of CDJs and we got a controller. Come on up. And I said, all right, well, why not? I'm one of those people like take advantage of opportunities and not kick yourself a year down the road. Say, hey, why didn't I do that interview? So I went through, I did the interview, 10-minute set, just giving the vibe of what it should be like on a cruise ship. Lucky for me, I had just got off a cruise months before. So guess what? I already knew what the vibe was on a cruise ship, right? So anyway, long story short, about 2 months later, I get a phone call from Carnival Cruise Line offering me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a pro DJ on their cruise ship. Now, when I say a ship, I mean a large vessel, 270 tons, 4,000 people on board with 1,300 crew members working. That's when I mean a cruise ship. Now, I don't know how many clubs you go to, but I don't know too many clubs to hold 4,000 people besides being at a festival somewhere, right? So I took advantage of the opportunity. They sent me out to training on January 1st, 2015. So exactly 5 years now. I've been working for Carnival for 5 years and about 6 months. So during that time, I had the opportunity to work with so many different people, especially my first contract. With over 1,300 crew members on board, you got 200 different nationalities speaking over 200 different languages on board one vessel, and we all come together to work as one. So as a pro DJ on board the Carnival Cruise Line, you have to know how to work the crowd, right? People say, well, cruise ship, you play line dances, and more line dances. Well, not really. There's only so many line dances you can play on a cruise ship, right? So basically, I'm in charge of programming up to 7 hours of music a day on the ship, 7 days a week for 3 months at a time. People are like, why would you want to work that many hours a day DJing? Once again, I tell you this, once in a lifetime opportunity. So many people can go work in a club every Friday and Saturday night. So many people can go out and do weddings. You got DJs doing festivals. You got people doing picnics, block parties, so on. But how many people have ever had the opportunity to work as a DJ on a cruise ship? Now, with this virtual thing we got going on, if you look behind me, all these videos running behind me are from the cruise ship. This is what it's like to work on board one of the largest party ships in the world. Carnival Corp owns over 100 ships. Carnival Cruise Line has 26 ships. So the 26 ships, we have 50 DJs transferring out between all the ships at a time. We're going for a month at a time, 2 months at a time, 3 months at a time, or if you really want to try it, you can do 6 months at a time as a contract DJ. So let's go to the next question, right? What do you need to know to work on a cruise ship? Or what do you need to work on a cruise ship? So before I actually walked on board the cruise ship, a couple things that was important to have. A passport. That's to work any international event. If you're traveling overseas, work at a resort, you got to have a passport. Now, with most places, such as the cruise industry and some of the larger resorts, you need to have medical. When I say medical, you need to be in seafarer shape condition. Whatever that means, you need to make sure you can work on the ship and not have a heart attack, basically, right? Make sure all your vital signs are good. Make sure your health is good, your wellness. All right, third thing you need, have all your vaccinations. You got to have vaccinations. So these are three main things you need to have before you even can walk on the cruise ship, right? If you get the job, these things you got to have. Don't say, I want to work on a cruise ship and don't have a passport. That's going to stop you. That's from any cruise line out there. You got to have a passport, okay? So you get those taken care of. What's the next move? Well, fortunate enough, when you go on a Carnival cruise ship, they have all the gear sitting there waiting on you. This setup is sitting on board the ship. They have the CDJ 900s and they have the S9 and all the clubs on board. What? There's a club on board? Oh, I forgot to mention that. Yes, there is a club on board all the ships. So you go in, it's just like you working in any major club, including one of them even having 2 floors, a Frankenstein in the middle, another one have cages in it, LED dance floors, all the bells and whistles, state-of-the-art nightclubs on the ship. So much to take in when you get on board. But that's the thing you got to have. Those 3 major things are important to even apply for a job working on a cruise ship. Now you're sitting and say, man, you say you working 7 days a week, 7 hours a day. Why would I want to do that? Well, like I said, so many people can go do weddings. So many people can go out and do clubs. But how many people say you can have the advantage of working on a cruise ship? Right? So for me, I was bored. I was bored out of my mind. I was basically saying, I'm doing 30 weddings a year as a single operator. I'm doing sorority parties. I'm doing the bars. I'm doing private events and whatever else. Even had a photo booth business. So I'm doing all these events and everything seemed to repeat itself. And I've been doing this for over 20 years as a personal DJ, single op DJ, okay? Going out, doing these events. So the past 5 years, I took a change. I took a pivot in my life. I took advantage of my skill set from all the years of working with so many different diversity groups in my college town, in my area, so many different cultures in a college town, right? I took that knowledge and transferred it over to the cruise ship. So that was my pivot. This was the change. So in January 2015, I walked on board the cruise ship, not knowing what to expect. Did a 2-week training with the DJ that was already on board. She walked me through everything I need to know as a DJ of what I need to know how to get to each different spaces on board, what music they had there for me, the equipment that was there, what equipment was stored, our schedule, our itinerary, everything. 2 weeks, learning all 2 weeks. So my first 2 weeks was a struggle because now I had to figure out how to adjust my time. Because we may be on Lido, which is the open deck up by the pool, out in the sun, from Lido to a atrium party to nightclub. And I had to look and say, how can I work 3 different events in one day and not play the same song? Now, how can I work in a nightclub 7 days a week and not play the same set? That was one of the best experiences I ever encountered because now it made me think outside the box. We all can go to weddings. We know our top 15 bangers that's going to get the dance floor popping. We know what songs we can slow it down to, and we know how to bring a crowd back up. We work in a nightclub. We know what songs to put on at 12 o'clock versus at 1 o'clock versus at 2 a.m. We know these things. But on a cruise ship, you don't know because you don't know who's going to show up at your club. Now, you see the club in the background. This is one of the clubs on board. You see the cages, see everything running in the background. Now, with that being said, you see these same people for 7 days. Your goal is to make sure these people attending the club do not know your set list, right? As a DJ, you always want to have that power. You want to have that effect. You want to say, you know what? How can I make these people really, really, really want to party every single night and not know what you're going to play? Versus you going to the club every Friday night, once a week. Then you know, oh yeah, 7 days in between. People ain't going to remember this. Well, I'm sending the same people every single night for 7 days straight. Now, in that time, there's 4,000 people on board. We may get 300 to 400 in the club on most nights, 200 on some nights, and then some nights if we have an early port day, which when we stopping, we may get 100 people in the club. But regardless, these people are on board with me for 7 days straight. So my goal is to be as creative as possible so they don't know what I'm playing. Now, with that being said, working for a corporate company like Carnival Cruise Line, you have restrictions. With coming on board, you are working for a multi-billion-dollar company. You coming on as a contract DJ, but you are contracted to work for this company. Now, Carnival, unlike some companies, provide you all the gear. So we have CDJs on board with S9 mixer, plus we have 3 controllers on board, 3 SR controllers on board, or SR2s or SX3s, whatever they may send us. But we have all these controllers provided to us. Not to mention, they give us laptops. So we get on board, laptops are there from the previous DJ. Serato is already set up for us. Then we got to go through and build our crates. So that's always the challenge. Get on board and start building crates as you get there. Because the previous DJ may have a different style than you. So you come in, the challenge is take that same 10,000 songs that's on that computer and make it work for you. Unfortunately, we can't play our own music due to all the copyrights, all the restrictions, all the stuff that go into buying music, replaying it, selling, however you want to put it. Carnival provides all the music for us. Now, some people are like, oh man, that's no fun. I like to have my own remixes. Yeah, but once again, that's the challenge. If you can't put a set together with the 10,000 songs provided, then you got to start rethinking what you're doing, because that's the challenge of a DJ, right? Having that monkey wrench thrown at you to say, hey, you know what? Make this work. Make this work. So with that playlist, with that library, you have music from Bollywood to top 40 to hip hop to old school hip hop, 80s music, 70s music, 60s music, ballroom dancing, Caribbean, soca, Latin, cumbia. What else? If you can think of it, we probably have it on the computer. So when it comes down to creating a playlist, the resources are there. You just got to make them work. Prime example, usually around Christmas time, busy time on board. The ship I was just on this past winter, at one point, we had 4,600 guests on board, 1,350 crew member on board. So 4,600 guests. Now, that 4,600 guests, you got to think, how many of those guests are kids? Well, we had 1,300 kids cruising during the Christmas season. Now, with that, I'm there to entertain these kids in the daytime by the beach pool. So we're up there line dancing, we're up there doing all the TikTok songs and everything else. But my job is to make sure I can play music that appeal from ages 6 months to 106 years old during the daytime. Because that's who's out there on an open day. Now, when it comes to nighttime, like nightclub's 18 and over. So now the music style is a little bit different. So we look at how can we, as a DJ, appeal to these audience. Once again, a lot of people get stuck in their norms. Oh, I can go to this nightclub. I know this group is going to show up at this time, and I'm going to play this music, and this is what they're going to like, and I'm going to make it work, right? So we get stagnant. We say, oh, you know what? I know what works. With this, I can never get stagnant because my wheels is always turning to create a better playlist, a better music selection, a better experience for the guests every day, every week, for usually 3 months straight. Right? So people say, oh man, why, once again, this was my pivot point. I was burnt out from DJing. I was looking for a new opportunity. Like, what else can I do that would keep this fresh, keep me happy, keep my love up for DJing? And this was it. This was working on a cruise ship, 5 years later, here I am. So even during the pandemic, I'm still reaching out to other cruise ship DJs. We're still chatting. All of us, we cannot wait to go back on board to work. Right. So here you are. So, man, you're talking about working 7 days a week, 7 hours a day. Do you get a day off? Of course we do. We get a day off, and when I say a day off, we get a day off because the nightclub's open 7 nights a week. This happens. You're there for entertainment, you're there for the guests, nightclub's open. But you do have a day off, right? So on that day off, you usually get basically you off 8 hours during the daytime at a port of call. So say we're in Cozumel, I'm off 7-8 hours in Cozumel, Mexico to go do what I want to do. As long as I get back to the ship and get ready for work, I'm good to go. So going to Cozumel, first contract on board. My very first year working, I was in Cozumel 13 times. Every Friday I was in Cozumel, and then we would go to Jamaica. We go to Belize. We go to Honduras. And that was just my very first contract on board. My last few contracts, I had the ability to go to Puerto Rico, Belize again, Jamaica. So many different places. Private islands like Half Moon Cay. We went to Martinique. Aruba, so many different islands you get to explore, and guess what? You're not paying for it. It's already there. It's there. You're on a floating hotel that you're getting paid to be at as a DJ. So these are some of the perks, It's like, once again, it keeps you fresh, You're like, man, I'm getting off here, and especially some of these islands, I like to go and listen to some of the music that's playing in some of the bars and the restaurants and the islands, because I want to hear what the music is on that island, so I can try to make it work with my sets on board. So, it's so many different things you can look at as far as the DJing. But once again, that was my pivot point in my DJ career. So I'm here today with DJ NTV, just to talk about, some options out there. We are in the middle of a pandemic. We're doing virtual streaming on Twitch and Mixcloud and Facebook and Instagram. And that was great the first 2 months. And then I'm sitting like, I can't wait to get back in front of some real people. Can't wait to get out and do a wedding. Can't wait to go out and do a sorority party. I can't wait to just interact with people. So on the ship, you're interacting with 4,000 people, not including crew members. So what is my responsibility as a pro DJ on board? Right. My responsibility as a pro DJ, I'm in charge of all the music for the nightclub. So I'm in charge of putting that together. If we have a second DJ on board, they will be called a host DJ. Carnival had a program called Apprentice DJ, and then they switched to host DJ. And your job as a pro DJ is to mentor the apprentice or host DJ. That was one of the best feelings I had, to actually work with another DJ who was just getting into the field, want to be a pro DJ on the ship, want this to be a full-time gig, and working with other DJs from countries like the Philippines, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Lebanon, Canada, Mexico, all these different DJs. And it's nice to work with them because you find out the music they know from their home country while you train them about the music from the U.S. Because 9% of the people cruise on the ship are U.S. citizens. So you got people from California and New York. They're not going to like the same music. You got people from Georgia and Ohio. They're probably not going to like the same music. You got people from Texas and Minnesota. They're definitely not going to like the same music. But as a DJ on board the ship, you got to appease to everybody's taste in music. One contract I had, I was in Texas. And this was it's always a funny story because I worked some Miami ships before, Latin music, you got stuff in Puerto Rico, but down in Florida on the ships out of Miami, you're running salsa, you want a reggaeton, basically a little bit of bachata. But when I went over to Mexico, well, not Mexico, but Texas, most of the people were over there from Mexico, on the west coast part of the country. They wanted to hear no reggaeton. So I was playing cumbia, banda, bachata. That's what they wanted to hear. So Pitbull was not on that list of music. Shakira got a little bit of airplay, but Selena, Cumbia Kings, club packed, dance floor booming. So that right there gave me an experience, because I would never got that experience being in Ohio. To find out the two different, it was like for me, the comparison, like the East Coast versus West Coast during the hip hop battles. Biggie versus Tupac, right? So here I am looking at, I got the reggaeton versus cumbia. Both of them got the dance floor pack. Two different areas, right? Two different genres of music, but two different demographics. So, it's so much out here. But, I just wanted to share my experience as a cruise ship DJ, because I know a lot of us, we're getting burnt out doing the same thing every single weekend. Let's go do a wedding. Let's go do a wedding. Most weddings are different, but they still the same, right? We're going to work the nightclub. Let's go to the nightclub. Let's go to a club. We're going to be in the club. We're going to do a festival. Same thing. On a cruise ship, I didn't know who was getting on board every week. Every 7 days, 4,000 different guests would join the ship every single week. So every 7 days, I have 4,000 new people ready to party on board. So, you're like, man, that's, it ain't too many opportunities you can get that. I mean, unless you're working in a high volume tourist areas like Las Vegas or Atlantic City or Chicago, New York, that you in the club and the crowd is changing over every single day, every single night. On a cruise ship, every 7 days, 4,000 people. Now, the question I always get, how much does it pay? It varies, right? But I tell you what I don't think about is the pay. The last I think about is what I'm getting paid on the ship. Yeah, it's important, but I think about what I'm gaining while working on the ship, and what I'm not paying for while working on the ship, right? What I'm not paying for food. I'm not paying for a room. I'm not paying for my laundry to get done. I'm not paying for use of the workout facilities on board. And I'm definitely not paying for vacation. And of those 7 days a week working, 4 days you are sitting at a port of call, near a beach, near some mountains, somewhere you can go explore. Of the 7 days, 4 days you're sitting at a port of call. So when it comes down to pay, I don't worry about the pay. Because for me, what I get back from the pay is what I get when I get home. Because you can have all these DJs out here saying, yeah, I can do your wedding. I can do your party. I can host this event. I can MC this for you. What's your experience? Oh, I've been working for Carnival Cruise Line. Done deal. Because people know that brand. They know that brand recognition. I can walk in most places and brides and grooms at a wedding expo. They want to know, oh yeah, have you done weddings? Have you done this? Yeah. I've done actually 4 weddings per week for 3 months straight. How is that possible? On a cruise ship, someone's always getting married and they always want entertainment. So many different aspects that you have to sell that you don't worry about the pay you're receiving on the ship. It's what you're going to get off the ship. It's that resume builder. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. So once again, I'm Aaron Thomas, aka DJ A-Rock. You can find me at arockentertainment.com. That's AROC entertainment.com. DJArock.com. DJ A-Rock Ohio on Instagram. And of course on Facebook /A-Rock Entertainment. So once again, thank you DJN TV for having me be a part of your virtual expo. And I hope to see you all soon on board a Carnival cruise ship.